Hello everyone, I'm Leanne. I am a teacher with the PalFish Kids official kids course. Let's bring up the subject of props. Lots of teachers use props in their classes. There are tons of blogs devoted to what kind of props to use in class and what kind of secondary reward systems that lots of teachers use. You can find so many videos across the board about different types of things that teachers use in classes. Mentors on the app, they use a lot of props, and there are a lot of really great videos from Sam, and I think US Angel has talked a lot about using props in the classroom. However, I am a props minimalist. I strategically use props in my class, and I feel like it's one thing that makes me unique from other teachers. And that's the beauty of things. We are told, and as we know, parents and students can choose the teachers that they want, and they can move around to different teachers that they want. So they can choose teachers with different teaching styles. So what if you're a teacher like me, who doesn't really use a ton of props in the class? What can you do? What do you do? I would like to know. Now, I do have, stuffed animals and some puppets that I do use from time to time with some of my really young students. It's really fun, and when I strategically use them, it can have a great effect during our class. I do strategically use teaching aids such as flashcards or pictures when I'm trying to get a point across or when I'm trying to make discussion with my student. From time to time, I have even used supplementary slides or worksheets, but it's not the focal point of my classes. I do rely heavily on the material, and I do think about how I can stretch and expand the material as far as I possibly can. In the beginning of when we first began to use the Pearson material, a lot of teachers said, but everything is so jam-packed. I will tell you that the more you teach with the courseware, the easier it will become to be able to start expanding. Other mentors have talked about, at the beginning of the lesson, their warm-up and how important it is to have a good and effective warm-up that kind of leads into the lesson. My warm-ups do vary among my students. Obviously, my much younger students cannot do as long of a warm-up as some of my older students, but the length of time that we have a warm-up does vary. I think the longest I've gone is maybe, between 5 or 7 minutes, and that's because the student was really talkative and wanted to share and talk about their day. Anyways, so another thing that I use in the classroom is I use the whiteboard to my advantage, and I often use it to reinforce a lot of things. If we're teaching colors, I have the whiteboard. We have many different types of colors to choose from. I get my students to look around themselves, and we can find objects that we can pull and we can bring in the classroom together to use to reinforce learning. There are many different ways to teach, and in the online teaching world, things can be quite visual. So a lot of teachers use a lot of props. I'm not saying that I don't use props at all, but as you've probably seen in the trial video with Sam and me, I am a props minimalist. I think that I've been pretty successful so far with my teaching on PalFish. I think I'm going to hit 1,800 hours soon. It's not as much as some other people, but it's a lot that I've worked towards, and I'm very proud of that. And I feel like with my student base and my group of students, that they are drawn to me based on my teaching style. I try to elicit conversation, and on the kids app there is a tab subheading that says that I do encourage a lot of speaking in my class. Because of the medium that we are using, I think that speaking is definitely a vital and important skill that students should learn. Now, I don't completely focus on just them answering questions for me or them giving me one-worded answers. I turn the tables and I get them to ask questions. I get them to practice making questions. And at first, when they start doing it, it's very simple. Things are quite simple. Asking me, do I like something? Asking me, can I do something? Or even they kind of regurgitate back some of the warm-up questions that I do ask them about the weather or how I'm feeling, how old I am. I even have gotten the question, how much do I weigh? You know what? I actually answer that question. I don't tell them how much I weigh, but my answer is, I weigh a lot. And they start laughing, and then the mom is just sitting in the background like, she answered it? Anyways, it's no big deal. So, I do encourage a lot of speaking in my classes. I use the whiteboard quite a bit. And I use flashcards as well as other types of things related to the lesson that I can use to reinforce learning. All learning styles are different, and sometimes I need to think about my students and what their learning styles are. And some students are quite visual, so we do have to do a lot of things that are visual. So if you're a teacher out there who is a props minimalist, let's talk, let's chat. I would like to know what you do in your classes and how you conduct your classes and what you do to connect with your students. A lot of my classes, I try to make that teacher-student connection fairly early on in the game. I try really hard in the first class, but I know that sometimes it takes, a few classes to make that connection, especially with kids who are very, very shy, or especially, like I've mentioned before, with some of the introverted children. It can take a bit of patience to get them to connect. And so sometimes I do bring out, like I said, like a puppet or some kind of stuffed animal to use. Anyways, that's my video for today. That's my vlog post for today. We are reaching the middle of July. I will tell you, I am quite tired. And, I hope everyone is staying positive and encouraging each other. I think that's very important, that we remain positive and that we encourage one another. So if I see you on the app, pop me a message. I am available to chat anytime you'd like. Hope everyone has a great day, evening, night, wherever you are in the world.